Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the Carry On with Carrie podcast. I welcome Annie Hunting, the success and wellness coach behind Welcome to the Temple. Annie will unveil the secrets behind her morning rituals that are not only designed to nourish the body, but also invigorate the mind and soothe the soul. Hello.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here. Morning routines, of course, we all know that getting that jump start to your day definitely makes a big difference with your mental health. Can you kind of go through a little bit about your morning routine and what's important to you to start off your day?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I'll start from the beginning and share a little bit about my journey with my morning routine. I I am lucky to say that I've always been a bit of an early riser. However, I would also say that I have not been somebody who used that time wisely for most of my life. And I made a big transition last year when I sold my previous business, Sage Stone Malas, and dove into Welcome to the Temple. And I have to admit that it left me floundering a little bit, being in a new space, making this transition, and figuring out what the work was that wanted to come forth. And what I found was that I was needing to create more structure for myself and more discipline in the way that I managed my time and my energy. And so I've read a couple of really phenomenal books that certainly inspired me to be more intentional with my mornings. And one of them was the 5 a.m. Club.
Okay, yes, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. And the other one is called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And I just decided, like, if I could master these skills, if I could master my morning, it could really begin to transform the way that I was conducting the rest of my day. And so I made it my mission to get really intentional with my mornings, and I started scaling back the clock a little at a time and diving into 6 different activities as part of my morning routine. And what I found over the next few months was that it completely transformed my mindset around motivation and momentum, as well as provided me with like a launching point for my day that was just really positive. It felt really good, and it's also provided me with this balance because I am starting my day going inward. I'm starting my day with self-care.
Right. That's lovely.
So it's been this really beautiful shift in the way that my day unravels. And so I'm unraveling straight into momentum and positivity and centeredness, which is just, it's been really a really beautiful and impactful shift in my personal life.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you have 2 young kids, or you have some?
I have one.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a 12-year-old.
Right. And so he's at that age where you have a little bit more time to do these things, right? But he's
certainly.
Yeah. And but yet you want to start your morning off and kind of like that role model and let him know this is how you can start off your day. It doesn't have to be hectic.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful piece to it is modeling this behavior of being really intentional with your time. And, by the time he wakes up in the morning, I'm already feeling balanced, and ready to prepare him for his day.
This message for morning rituals, is there so what are some of the first things that you do in the very first hours of your day?
Yeah. So the first thing that I do as soon as I wake up is I reach for my dream journal. And this is just a personal preference. This is certainly not something that might resonate with all of your viewers, but I've come into the practice of jotting down my dreams, looking at them for clues, for messages, for inspiration in what is going on in my life currently. And the reason this is the first thing I do is because the longer you wait to reflect on your dreams, the less likely you are to remember them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first thing I do is I grab my journal, I make notes on any of the dreams that I remember. And, you know, this can take me anywhere from like 1 to 10 minutes, depending on what the dream was, how much of a night of dreams I recall,
mm-hmm.
and then also how much I feel like I need to dig into the meaning behind the dream.
So that's not really it's not an unattainable thing for, you know, when people get overwhelmed by sometimes these suggestions, like 1 to 10 minutes of your morning to start it off. That's amazing. Yeah, it's not unreachable.
Really simple. Absolutely. And, you know, with the morning routine that my morning routine probably takes me around an hour. However, it can very easily be condensed into even 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so once that's done, once I've done that, I get up, I brush my teeth. I've already prepared the night before to have success in my morning routine, and we can talk a little bit about what that looks later if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But the next thing I do is I sit down, I get out of my bed, out of my bedroom, and I sit down for 7 to 10 minutes of silent meditation.
Okay.
And this is a great time first thing in the morning is a great time to meditate. Our brain is, you know, incredibly calm, it's receptive, and so it's a very efficient time to meditate before our brain has had the opportunity to really get running on the hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And then from there, I'll grab my journal. I'll do a few minutes of journaling wherever, you know, about what's happening for me presently, where I'm at emotionally, anything that may have come up for me in my meditation. And I'll take a few moments to jot down my thoughts and my gratitudes. I think starting the morning in gratitude is a part of this rewiring our brain to look for positive in life rather than focusing on what might be going wrong. And so I definitely always make it a point to start my day and end my day in gratitude.
Right.
So I do my gratitudes, I wrap that up into my journaling, and then I move into some visualization and affirmations.
Okay.
So when I have 2 journals. One is for writing in. The other one has got some commitments and affirmations that I've written for myself, things that I am striving to embody and manifest in my life. And so I'll read those back to myself and I'll read them out loud. Sometimes I'll rewrite them as well. I feel that as many ways as we can participate in the affirmation, the more that they're like sinking into our brain, right? So saying it out loud, writing it, reading it, doing all of the things, it's going to help to lock it in. And again, just like rewire the neural pathways in our brain to be geared towards success, to be geared towards the things that we desire. And from there, I read through some of my visualizations, some of the things that I would like for my life that are a bit more tangible. So when I'm talking affirmations, I am speaking more like, I am in the space of receiving. I am surrounded by community that uplifts and supports me, things like this, right?
Right.
Now, when I'm going into my visualizations, I'm thinking like really tangible. Like I'm thinking about my house in the tropics with the infinity pool, and I'm thinking about the,
lovely,
hundreds of thousands of dollars flooding into my bank account each month and all of these things.
Right.
And so I'll read through my visualizations. I will sit with those. I will bask in the energy of the visualizations and take some time just to be really present in that energy. If that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. It just sounds like such a wonderful way to start off your day. And this is, so you mentioned that you do a lot of your coaching online.
Yeah.
And I can see just you're such a soothing presence.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you are. And I remember, so we met almost, I guess in February, it'll be like 2 years at a workshop. And that's something that I kind of noticed about you right away, just very welcoming and non-judgmental, a safe place to land. So, yes. And you guys kind of all started my journey down this path, or helped me. It was a part of, and it goes definitely remembered all the time. Magical weekend. Yeah. And so I guess having said that, I just wanted to, for your coaching aspect, with you work with women 30s and about, and over, and you're working with breaking their boundaries and redefining their destinies and allowing them to have like a true alignment with themselves. Can you, this is obviously with the morning routine, definitely just the first step, right?
Yeah. This piece of having the morning routine, I think is definitely foundational in the work that I'm doing with women and helping them to recognize and realize the fullness of their potential and to develop this like unshakable commitment to themselves and to the things that they desire in their lives. And the reason that this morning routine is so important to that is because, like I said earlier, number one, it's going to immediately create this energy of success first thing in the morning just by setting this goal. Beyond the affirmations, there's also a little bit of reading on a topic that is, near and dear to your heart, something where you're trying to grow within. And so it creates this immediate sense of success, but also it's the integral piece to maintaining balance.
Mm-hmm.
When we enter into this phase of being really intentional with our goals and being very disciplined and dedicated and aware of where we might fall into patterns of resistance,
right,
and how do I say this? Where we might be afraid of our potential, and rather than meeting the challenge, deciding to Netflix and chill.
Right.
When we're entering into this phase of being really disciplined, this balance piece is just so vital.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't maintain the balance, we just wind up in burnout mode. And what I've found in the coaching world, in the success coaching world, which is very male dominated,
yes,
there seems to be this overarching theme of, take radical action now, like no pain, no gain, go, like get it done. And like, that's all well and good and needed sometimes. But as women, we observe a monthly cycle in our bodies that doesn't necessarily allow for that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. It's just something you don't think about.
And it's so important to be conscious and aware of that so that we can meet those moments in our life with gentleness, with honoring our body's needs and our mind's needs in the moment, so that we don't wind up, burnt out, and then also shaming ourselves and guilting ourselves for not being productive.
Right.
So part of what I do in my coaching practice is we get really intentional about what our capacity is in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And we create our to-do list based on what is possible for us that day, because we never want to leave a day with things undone.
Right.
Because when we do that, as well as I do, we enter into this phase of, this day I blew it today.
Right.
There was all these things that I left undone. Whereas if we can just scale back that list a little bit,
mm-hmm.
and be more realistic,
yes,
with what might be possible for us that day, we finish the day feeling like, hey, right on, I checked every box.
Right.
Today was a successful day.
It's an accomplished day. Yes.
It's an accomplished day.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had the same day in either scenario, only in this one you're ending your day feeling guilty, and in this one you're ending your day feeling empowered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important just to recognize that there's another way that allows for us to observe the ebb and flow of our life and still feel successful.
Right. And something I think in just the last few years I've really learned myself is the baby steps, the small steps. And it's okay to give yourself some grace while you go through that, and having someone like yourself to really complement that and support.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest piece of having a coach
mm-hmm.
walking the walk with you, is that you're able to have the guidance and the support and the encouragement, and also somebody to call you on your BS,
right?
when the ebb is happening due to resistance,
yeah,
rather than due to a genuine need for ebb,
mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes we enter into this like self-imposed ebb, mm-hmm. simply because we are daunted by the next step, Yes.
And that's where procrastination comes in. I know I am so bad for that.
That's exactly it.
And it does. It adds anxiety. It adds pressure. And then, sometimes you work good under pressure. Some people do. And I get that. But really, like when you're prepared, when you're calm, when you're, so can you walk us through kind of a little bit about how you would, what I know it would be so different for different individuals, but some of the things that you can kind of recommend for small steps.
Yeah, small steps towards creating a morning routine, or
and throughout your day. So if you're looking at, like, I know again everybody's days look different, but just some small things that kind of give people an idea of what isn't daunting, if that makes sense.
Is awareness, and it's learning how to identify when the daunted feelings, when the resistance shows up, mm-hmm. where is it coming from?
Right.
I think a few questions that one might ask themselves, when the resistance shows up, are, number one, am I needing a break?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's simple as just taking a 5-minute break.
Yes.
Stepping away, having a breath, putting your feet on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is, am I feeling challenged? Because often it's coming from a space of, our comfort zone is like this, imagine it as a circle.
Right.
And we're pressing on the edges of that circle.
Mm-hmm.
So am I feeling challenged? If the answer to that question is yes, I'm feeling challenged, then the step is to actually meet the challenge. That is the call that's being made of you.
Right.
And if we are to propel ourselves forward toward the things that we desire, toward the life of our dreams, toward our goals, then we must continuously meet those challenges, because there's no growth, mm-hmm. from staying small. There's no growth from staying in the same place that we're at. There's nothing changes when you're doing the same thing.
That's right. Yep.
Now, another question is, am I in need of some self-care?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it is just genuinely that you have hit your limit,
Mm-hmm.
and that the exhaustion is creeping up.
Yes.
And it is time to take a step back and focus on yourself. And this is, something I always say is self-care is not selfish, and self-care should be non-negotiable. Because without it, we are not serving anybody. When we cannot pour from a full cup, we're not giving anybody our best, including ourselves.
Yeah. And that's what leads to the burnout.
And that's what leads to the burnout.
Yes.
Exactly.
So if you can catch that before, right?
Yeah. And if you hit that burnout space, now you wind up with days of lost time. Whereas if you can catch it along the way and be proactive with your mental health, with finding the balance, with taking care of your needs, you never need to hit that burnout phase. And burnout, I mean, it's hard. It's a hard thing to go through because we are so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we can't just burn out and go, okay, I'm burnt out, I'm just going to take 5 days off. No. We'll go, okay, I'm burnt out, and I'm going to go lie in my bed and wallow in self-pity and self-hatred because I've totally failed myself.
That's right. Yes. I went through that in the spring. That's partly when this podcast started. I had major burnout. And I mean, all the other things that come with it. And so that's what I mean. There were signs like, Carrie, slow down. Let's get reset here. But I didn't listen. And I kept going and going. And I totally get that. And I think it's relatable to a lot of, especially women, because we burn the candle at both ends.
We do. Mm-hmm. We try to do all the things all the time for everybody.
Yes.
And we have such a hard time turning that dedication and energy inward toward ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We would have no problem if a friend phoned us and was like, hey, I'm having a really hard day. Like, can you come over and just hold the bucket for me and help me fold laundry? We would drop everything.
Yep.
And be there in a heartbeat, despite the fact that we've got our own mountain of laundry and list of to-do things that would keep us busy for a month.
Yes. So now where do you think that roots from? In your opinion?
We are nurturing beings.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I would say as women, but just as humans, mm-hmm. we have a desire for community and for connection. And due to, a myriad of things, mm-hmm. like ancestral traumas and the way that we've been raised and societal values and all of these things, we have learned to not value ourselves in the same way that we value others.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And I think that, so going on with the kind of the reset and not pushing your limits so much, like you said, that circle or the bubble where you just like, it's almost ready to pop. So what are some things and suggestions you can give to people to kind of start? I mean, I know the morning routine, that's most definitely I think that's the perfect way to start for me. Like, I know for me, I'm not a morning person. I resist that time of the day, but I am starting to learn that, okay, I can get a lot done. Like if I get up maybe a little bit earlier, start my day a little bit earlier. But I love how you talked about your dreams and writing those down and remembering a little bit. So now, do you look at that when you're kind of setting some goals then for the day? Do you look at what you dreamt about or is it completely separate?
That's a great question. This morning specifically, I woke up, I'd had a dream that was just riddled with anxiety. And I wrote it down, and I actually then spent the next 10 minutes in meditation on reversing the energy of that anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So this morning, yes, the dreams did definitely have an impact on the way that I conducted my morning, but not always.
Right. Yeah, I guess it
Not always.
depends on how intense they were, and I ask that because I do often have those anxious thoughts and dreams overnight. I don't know if it's my age. I don't know what's happened. I never used to have these things before, but I think writing them down and getting it out, like first of all, getting it out, like I don't have to hold on to that dream. It's no longer happening. And how can I bring myself through my day to get rid of that anxious feeling, or just like you said, to ground yourself?
Yeah, that's just it, right? Is that, it was one of those dreams that, like, every time you fall back asleep, you're still in the same dream.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so it was just this, like, building anxiety throughout the night. And I really felt it this morning. And I just knew that, number one, I didn't want to carry that with me.
Yeah.
Number two, the thoughts that were generated in this dream were not relevant or true.
Right.
And so I knew I had to, like, reprogram what was happening so that I wasn't carrying that energy forward.
Mm-hmm. So instead, you
Yeah,
carried on with Carrie.
I carried on with Carrie. That's right.
So, being that it's so important to start off your morning in a positive light, can you explain a little bit about what your routine is the night before? So, okay, this is actually a question I ask everybody. What is the last best thing you do before you go to bed?
So the last thing I do before I go to bed is meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of my evening routine. So what I find is, my morning routine is the star player, but the secret weapon of that morning routine is actually the evening routine.
Right.
And the evening routine is much less involved, less time consuming. But what I do in the evening is I prepare for my morning. So I put out my vitamins, I get my coffee ready to brew. I have my yoga mat out. I've got a glass of water next to my chair with my journals and my book,
Mm-hmm.
so that when I wake up in the morning, everything's just ready to go. And
Right.
I'm not killing time in these little transitions. If I've set aside an hour for my morning routine, I want as much of that as possible actually spent on the activities in my morning routine, rather than on, feeding the pets and rummaging through the cupboards trying to figure out what breakfast is going to be.
Right.
So I get really set up so that my morning routine can be just this beautiful ease and flow experience. And then I head to bed. I grab my journal. I'm ending my day in gratitude. So I'm writing down some of the things that I was grateful for that day, or that I'm grateful for in general. And I do some affirmations that are actually helping to program my brain to wake up feeling revitalized and refreshed and ready to conquer the day. So those affirmations are things like, I am committed to waking up at 5 a.m. and I am going to wake up feeling refreshed. And I have already set up everything that I need for tomorrow. My only job now is to relax my body and calm my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just creating this, this thought process, this intention for, number one, having a good restful sleep.
Yep.
Number two, waking up feeling refreshed and ready to actually conquer the day. And then the last thing I do is meditate.
Yeah.
And generally, I will put on a guided meditation from Insight Timer. YouTube also has meditations. There's Headspace, there's Calm, all of these great apps that have a huge selection of meditations.
And Spotify.
And Spotify,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I'll put on a meditation, and often I'll fall asleep to it, but I'll usually choose a meditation that is aligned with my current goals.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking to create more like abundance, I might choose an abundance meditation. If I'm looking to create more confidence, I'll choose a confidence meditation. And I mean, the selection is infinite.
Right.
So regardless of what your goals are, your intentions are, there you'll be able to find a meditation that aligns in some way.
Yes. Do you have any that, or do you have any favorites that you listen to? Any favorite people, or do you kind of go all over the place?
I jump around a little bit. There is on Insight Timer a guy named Kenneth Soares, and he does these long affirmations that are great for listening to like throughout your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll sometimes go to bed to those. Carolyn Stewart, she's local here, and she has an Insight Timer channel as well. She's got some beautiful meditations on there as well.
Yeah. Oh, neat. And she's local.
And she's local, yes.
Do you ever do your own meditations? Do you lead them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, within my program, I would say we've got, every time we meet, we do meditation, but then within the content of the program, there's probably 2 to 3 meditations provided each week as well.
Okay. And is that, no, so are you locally, do you have, I know you have workshops and even just creative workshops as well, I've noticed. Are you still going down that path as well?
So when I was with Sage Stone Malas, I was running mala making workshops and meditation workshops and crystal gridding workshops. I did sell that business last year. And Kyla is still running those workshops, which is amazing. What I do now live in person locally is I do offer ecstatic dance workshops with Krista Mendez.
Yes, the wonderful Krista Mendez.
The wonderful Krista Mendez. She's an Inner Journeys ecstatic dance facilitator. And we've teamed up to offer an experience where we start in circle, we start in a share. I do a guided meditation with the group, and then we go into this beautiful dance experience. Dance is one of my most favorite ways to just go inward and connect with myself. And it's such a cathartic modality, I find. Within just one session, I might laugh and cry and stomp and rage and, run the whole gamut of emotions. And at the end, I just feel so much lighter.
Oh, I bet. I keep seeing them up and I'm like, I have to make it to one of these, because I remember in the workshop we did some dance. It's such a healing, and that was my first experience. I mean, I love dancing, but to put it in that light and into that modality, as you put it, makes such a difference.
It's so powerful.
To give you that safe.
November 12th, that's the next one.
Is it? Okay, perfect. Good timing. And where now will that be in Edmonton? Do you generally do anything in Edmonton locally, or are you all from your home base?
Yeah, so that class is happening in Edmonton. And other than that, the other offering that I have is a monthly class called the Woo You. Now, this is an online class, so people can join from the comfort of their own homes from anywhere.
Yep.
And each month I bring in a new facilitator to offer their magic and medicine to the group. So we've done human design, we've done spell making, we've done art therapy around our yonis, we've done shadow work, and inner child healing is what's happening this month. All kinds of things. We've done erotic work, we've done
all empowering.
A little bit of everything. I really intended for this class to allow people to dive a little bit more deeply into the woo, if you will.
Yep.
And explore modalities that might be new to them.
Right. Yeah, and that's part of this, just to get out. You never know what's going to work for you. And if you have that open mind and start to, like you said, kind of just expand do something that makes you maybe a little scared. Like I know the one we went to was the yoni, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I, but it was so much more healing than I could have ever imagined. So that's a lot
Yes,
of what you're working on. It's that feminine empowerment, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely. I truly believe that the magic happens outside of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires us to get uncomfortable. You know, it requires us to meet those edges, to meet that resistance, that challenge with bravery and with the willingness to explore it rather than shrink back from it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and to feel the comfort and the safety in that, because that's also part of it. You meet someone, and that's why I was saying about your presence. You don't always feel that with everybody, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, and that's part of it is to meet yourself where you're at, know what your comfort levels are, and when you can do it with somebody that understands that, that gets that, yeah, so that opens it up to a safe zone.
100%. It's so important to be in a safe container. If you don't feel safe to leap, you're not going to leap, you
No.
know? And if you do, and you're not in a safe container, there's this risk of having real trauma and damage done, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's such a priority of mine, is creating containers that are truly safe, and that are, I can be a little bit strict in my containers about the protocols, because it's very important for me to maintain that safety.
Right. And I strict is
Yeah.
good because and that's partly, even with every episode I do, I let people know I am not a mental health expert. The things that
Mm-hmm.
we talk about are, it's from our point of view, and you have to be
Yeah.
really careful because you never know what could trigger someone. And knowing that, you're walking into a workshop or a dance, um, just any kind of modality, and you know that you are safe and it's not going to go beyond that room.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, is there anything else that you can kind of, like, that you really want to highlight and that you would want everyone to leave off with?
The piece that I would like to leave people with is the challenge to develop yourself, to develop a morning routine. And I know that for some people, there's going to be huge resistance to this. There's going to be this, I'm not a morning person. I don't want to get up early. And what I can promise you is that if you can stay dedicated to it for even 30 days,
Mm-hmm.
after that 30 days, it will just become non negotiable, because you're going to fall in love with it.
Right.
You're going to look forward to it. It's going to be like waking up on Christmas morning, and you're going to hop out of bed excited for your morning routine. And
Oh, I love that.
don't feel daunted by the time. It doesn't have to take you an hour like it takes me. Even if you set aside 20 minutes to do, 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of journaling, 5 minutes of movement or exercise. It might even be like some jumping jacks or running in place, something really simple. 5 minutes of affirmations and visualizations. It can be that simple, and it will just change everything.
Oh, for sure. It's,
Yeah.
just the fact that you said, I mean, somebody else in a different podcast had said, you have the choice. And this was a hard one for me to look back when I look back at when I was in my depression and all that stuff. You do have the choice, just like you do to have a bad thought. You have the choice to
Mm-hmm.
have a positive thought. And it's the choice that you can make. It seems so easy. It's always the simple things. But when you mentioned it's like waking up on Christmas morning, you have that option to be like, this is just as good as
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
That leads to hope, I think, for so many.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I hope so.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. It's, um Yeah, this has been lovely. I Is there anything else with the morning routine? Did we veer off course at all?
With the morning routine, the six things that I focus on
Mm-hmm.
are meditation, movement, journaling, visualization, affirmations, and reading.
How can we get onto your workshops, and where can we follow you on Instagram, all that good stuff?
So you can follow me on Instagram at welcome.to.the.temple. And my website is www.welcometothetemple.ca. And that's where you'll be able to find all of the information on my programs, on my events that are upcoming, and on the Aligned Action Alchemy process and group coaching program that I have happening as well.
Right, which is November 12th. Oh,
that
that was
November
different.
12th is the Inner Journeys dance workshop.
Okay, and they can find that all on your Instagram or website.
Yes, you got it.
Awesome. Well, this has been such, yeah, it started off a bit chaotic, which is funny given our topic. But it was just wonderful to be able to kind of reconnect with you again.
Absolutely, Carrie. It's absolutely my pleasure to be here. It's so great to, come on and share my passion with your viewers.
Yeah, and I think it's going to make a huge impact with people.
I'm so grateful to you for making the time for me to join you.
Thank you. Very much appreciated.
Soon.
Yeah, and anybody that wants to give me a follow or a share, you can find me on Carry On with Carrie podcast on Facebook, or Carry On with Carrie _podcast on Instagram. And yeah, if you feel called to share the podcast and follow, that would be amazing. And we can try to get it to one more person at a time. Okay. Bye, Annie.
Bye-bye.